tell you what, I like your style. And I think your wife's pretty cute, too.
Hello and welcome to a bonus episode of Kill James Bond. I am Alice Goldwell-Kelly. I'm joined by my friends Abigail Thorne and Devon.
Hey!
Hi.
And we have a special guest. We have Annie Kelly from Qanon Anonymous. Annie, how's it going?
It's going very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
It's our pleasure.
Welcome.
Made you
Somewhat
watch...
starstruck by this. Is probably the guest that I've been listening to for the longest.
Yeah, we've got
Yeah,
somebody who's
right?
actually serious and knows shit.
We keep doing this. We keep getting people we like earnestly admire and making them watch just a film and just sort of wasting their time with it.
Well, I don't think it's a waste of time because the reason I specifically invited you on, Annie, is because I really enjoyed your work on the mythopoetic men's rights movement. And I thought this film, The Edge from 1997, kind of like has some stuff to say about that, maybe. I thought it might interest you if you weren't already aware of it.
I agree. No, I hadn't seen this movie before, but it had a deeply mythopoetic element to it, which I thought was really interesting. I actually joked when Abby invited me on the podcast, I think, and told me about the film. I said something like, I thought I'd seen every masculine anxiety movie from the 1990s, but apparently one passed me by. So
They made
it was a real
so
pleasure.
many.
Yeah.
They made so many in this genre.
Also, there's like a little bit of Abbey lore here because like this film I watched when I was a kid, and it actually does have a little bit of like importance and meaning to me for reasons we'll get into. I had been quite attached to it, although I recognize that it is problematic, and we'll get into that.
You feel a deep kinship with someone trying to kill someone for their wife.
Yeah. We'll get into that when we talk about David Mamet. But anyway.
Yeah. So this is your bonus book, Abby, The Edge. And I mean, I quite enjoyed this one. I have some thoughts. But the first thing you need to know coming into this is Anthony Hopkins is a billionaire. He is married to Elle Macpherson. Everybody he meets in the course of this movie is going to want to fuck Elle Macpherson. And this is a huge problem for him, right? This is the sort of like inciting incident, I guess. He's like on vacation in, is it Alaska?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
With his wife, who I thought was his daughter to start with, which already gives you a sort of starting point here.
Billionaire moment.
Yeah, genuinely though. His wife and Alec Baldwin, who is a team. He's like a photographer. He's a fashion photographer because his wife is a model, and he has like a team of photographers with him.
One of whom is Mercutio from Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, he fucking is.
And Link from Lost, right? No, Link from The Matrix, and I forget who he played in Lost.
Harold Perrineau. Yeah, guy we love to see. But yeah, so he gets off the plane
100%.
and immediately the first guy he talks to is like, yo, is that Elle Macpherson? Which is it's a little insulting. It also sets the first of, I have a button for this. Anytime Anthony Hopkins is in a movie, right, he has this thing he does. He has a special move where if he's playing a kind of...
Special attack.
Yeah, his special attack. Where if Anthony Hopkins is playing a kind of like aloof intellectual character, which is a lot of the roles he plays, his way of like ending a conversation is to make a kind of like thoughtful, yeah. And I have a button that will give me a random one of from this movie because he does this about 20 times. You can cut all of these together. You can put a counter on screen for every he does.
But that's how good he is. He doesn't even need lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I could get out of stuff like that. You know, I can't think of anything to say. Yeah.
Yeah, sadly you have to talk for an hour about a movie instead.
Yeah. He's kind of the like you know, how do I describe this billionaire?
Rational male billionaire, Anthony Hopkins.
He just reads books all the time. That's his whole thing. He's just like reading fact books. He's retaining information. We get this set up because he correctly identifies like a Cree Indian symbol on the back of a like oar or some shit. And everyone's like, "Oh, very impressive, mate." And he goes, "No, it fucking sucks. I just know all this shit, but I have never like practically
me talking
used it
about
in my
movies,
life."
you know. So yeah,
Yeah, I literally wrote Alice in my notes.
My notes, I wrote autistic.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I found really interesting is, I guess when I read the plot of this movie, I assumed it would be a classic story of, a kind of bookish nerd who, is forced to, don't want to go too far ahead in the story, but is forced to kind of confront sort of the wilderness and, the kind of practical realities of your life being in danger. But one thing that's kind of funny about this is, like, for that plot line to work, it kind of needs to be a sort of like undervalued trait that he is so smart and knows all of this stuff. But in fact, like, kind of instantly, everyone is just incredibly impressed by his knowledge. There's like never a moment where like that knowledge is devalued in any sense. Everyone's just like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. He knows everything.
He's deliterate billionaire. And the thought that I had watching this, knowing there was gonna be like a disaster because it's gonna be a disaster movie, I was like, this is 100% how the Ocean Gate submarine guy Stockton Rush. This is how he saw himself. As he was putting the like Xbox controller into the death tube, he was like, that's me. I'm the literate billionaire.
Give Anthony Hopkins an Xbox controller. He wouldn't know what that is. They're like giving a Labrador a particle accelerator. It's like, these are from two completely different worlds. Like, he doesn't know what that is. He was Laurence Olivier's understudy. He's not MLG. Like, you can't give him that.
If you put it in the script, he will read it. My proof for this is that I have a very clean drop from Stormbreaker of Stephen Fry saying,
Nintendo DS game system.
So it can be done. So they're going to this like cabin resort in the middle of nowhere. They have to fly in. As they fly in, Alec Baldwin's character is talking about how cool his watch is, and I'm like, this is foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they're also talking about bird strikes.
Yeah.
Yes.
A little bit of like it's the foreshadowing scene, and also bears. Watch out for bears.
Yeah, he does go in on like GMT watch complications, which is a sort of welcome piece of violence against watch guys. But they get to this cabin, and there's a guy there. This is Styles. He's just sort of like backwoods, like salt of the earth, sort of homespun country.
He's the manager of the lodge. Yeah.
Yeah, that. Yeah. And he's the one who like tests Anthony Hopkins' knowledge of like random bullshit and is impressed when he happens to know some random bullshit.
Yeah, it gives him a $5.
He does. Yeah, like you would a child. Which
there's a note here because our fucking Alec Baldwin character is a photographer, and while he's walking in here, he sees this photograph on. Oh,
I have the drop. He like sees a like black and white photo and goes,
an unsentimental photograph. To get a truly unselfconscious photograph, you almost have to go all the way back to the 19th century.
Which is not true.
Simply not true.
The sentimental photograph ruled the 19th century.
Whatever, but it's fine if he's like a bullshitter and a faker, right? That kind of
because it's a classic like Mamet way of doing this, right? It's like, you set this up and then he is immediately humiliated by the guy going, no, I took that last week.
Yeah,
like, that's my friend.
That's my buddy.
Yeah.
Not only are you wrong, you're also racist because you think that like a Native American is like a sort of thing of the past, and that's
historical
my boy.
Object. We get a little bit of a theme here, which is that Alec Baldwin is in search of something authentic and real, and this is a theme that kind of we come back to a couple of times. But in particular, he sees this photograph, that's like a real guy, not a model. Like,
it is very funny that we sort of witness his hubris and then contrast it with the humility of the simple billionaire.
Yeah,
it's just kind of like
happens a lot.
Yeah,
yes, there's a lot of like woe for the billionaire in this movie.
Yeah.
It's like, everyone hates me just because I have $1 million and I own a plane and
I have $1 million. I know that the other side of that all has a rabbit vaping on it. Fine. The rabbit is also themes.
Yes.
Because the theme is that like it's a Cree story, and the rabbit is on the other side of the thing vaping because he doesn't have to be afraid because he's smarter than the predator, right? This is themes. David Mamet, he loves his themes. So at this point, they go to bed. I realize at this point in the movie that Elle Macpherson is supposed to be his wife, not his daughter.
Whoa, now, that's quite enough of that. If you want to hear the rest of this episode of our wonderful guest, Annie Kelly, and all of this great analysis that you know and love. I shouldn't have sighed there. You do know and love the analysis. Patreon.com/KillJamesBond, all one word. Sign up now.